He used to lead meetings in that same glass office. Now he wiped fingerprints from the table in silence, and no one in the building knew that the man cleaning the floor at midnight had once built the system they were still struggling to understand. His name was Marcus, and every night he walked through the lobby with his head slightly down, pushing a cleaning cart that made soft rolling sounds across the polished floor, a quiet reminder of how far he had fallen, yet inside him there was something steady, something unbroken, even if the world had decided he was no longer important. Just a year ago, Marcus was a senior engineer in the same company, respected by his team, trusted with complex systems, the kind of man who solved problems others avoided. But companies change, leadership changes, and sometimes truth becomes inconvenient when it challenges power. The new CEO, Daniel Reeves, was known for his sharp mind and even sharper ego, a man who valued control more than collaboration, and when Marcus raised concerns about a major system flaw, something that could cause serious damage if ignored, Daniel did not see a warning, he saw a threat, someone questioning his authority in front of others. The meeting that followed was short and cold. Marcus tried to explain, calmly, clearly, but Daniel interrupted him, dismissed his concerns, and in front of everyone, reduced years of dedication to a single moment of humiliation, telling him that people who create problems should not pretend to solve them. And just like that, Marcus was removed, not because he was wrong, but because he was right at the wrong time. Losing the job was not just about money, it was about identity, about purpose, about the quiet pride he carried in his work, and when he walked out of that building for the last time, he felt something heavy settle inside him, not anger, not bitterness, but a deep sadness that stayed with him long after the doors closed behind him. At home, things were not easier. He was a single father, raising a young daughter who depended on him for everything, her small voice asking simple questions he could not always answer, like why he was home more often, or why he looked so tired, and every night he promised himself he would find a way, not just for him, but for her. Weeks passed, savings ran low, opportunities did not come, and eventually, he accepted the only job available, a night cleaning position in the very building where he once worked, a place that now saw him as invisible. The first night was the hardest, pushing that cart past the desks he once used, hearing echoes of conversations he used to lead, feeling the weight of every step, but he did not complain, he did not quit, because sometimes survival does not give you choices, it gives you responsibility. Night after night, Marcus worked quietly, cleaning offices, emptying bins, wiping surfaces, his presence unnoticed, his past unknown, but his mind never stopped working. Even as his hands moved through routine tasks, he noticed things, small inconsistencies, patterns in the system screens left on overnight, errors that repeated, signals others ignored. There was a problem in the company's core system, something serious, something growing, and he recognized it instantly, because it was the same flaw he had tried to warn them about before he was dismissed. During the day, teams struggled, reports showed losses, delays increased, and pressure built inside the company, but no one could find the root cause, or perhaps no one wanted to admit it was something they had ignored. Daniel, still confident, still untouchable, pushed his team harder, demanded faster solutions, refused to accept failure, and the more the problem grew, the more his frustration turned into blame directed at everyone except himself. Marcus watched all of this quietly, night after night, standing in rooms where people once debated his ideas, now filled with confusion and stress, and yet he said nothing, not because he did not care, but because he had learned that sometimes speaking too soon only leads to being silenced again. Instead, he waited, observed, and slowly began to test small fixes on isolated parts of the system during his night shifts, careful not to disrupt anything, careful not to be noticed, his patience guiding him, his experience leading him step by step. It was not quick, it was not easy, but progress began, small at first, then clearer. The system started to stabilize in certain areas, errors reduced, patterns shifted, and Marcus knew he was close to something real. One night, as he worked in the main conference room, the large screens displayed live data, numbers changing rapidly, and he saw the exact moment when the system began to fail again, the same flaw, repeating like a loop no one had broken. Without hesitation, he stepped closer, his hands moving instinctively, accessing a terminal left open, his mind focused, calm, precise. He adjusted a sequence, corrected a logic chain, and initiated a controlled reset in a way only someone who truly understood the system could. At that exact moment, the door opened, and Daniel walked in, accompanied by a few senior managers, their expressions tense, expecting another night of failure, but instead they saw something unexpected, the cleaning man standing at the system, the screens shifting from red alerts to stable green indicators. For a second, no one spoke, the room held a quiet shock, and Daniel's eyes narrowed, trying to process what he was seeing, the same man he had dismissed now standing where experts had failed. Marcus stepped back immediately, his voice calm, respectful. He explained briefly what he had done, not as a claim, but as a simple fact, and the managers quickly checked the data, confirming what seemed impossible. The system was stabilizing, the errors were disappearing, the problem that had cost them time and money was finally under control. Daniel remained silent, his confidence shaken for the first time, his authority confronted not by rebellion, but by truth, undeniable and quiet. Days passed, and the results held. The system continued to improve, and investigations confirmed that Marcus had identified and corrected the core issue that no one else could solve. The company began to recover, pressure eased, and slowly, the story of what happened that night spread through the building, not loudly, not officially, but through whispers, through respect, through a growing awareness that the man they had ignored was the one who saved them. Daniel called Marcus into his office, the same office where everything had changed before, but this time the atmosphere was different, less certain, more human. He asked questions, listened carefully, something he had not done before, and for the first time, he acknowledged that he had been wrong. Marcus did not react with anger, did not seek revenge, he simply answered, calmly, honestly, because he was never driven by pride, only by purpose. The company offered him his position back, a higher one, more recognition, more responsibility, but Marcus paused, not out of hesitation, but out of clarity. He accepted, but on his own terms, asking for a team that valued truth over hierarchy, solutions over ego, and to everyone's surprise, Daniel agreed. At home, Marcus's daughter smiled again, the worry in her eyes replaced with something lighter, something hopeful, and for Marcus, that was the real victory, not the title, not the office, but the quiet moment of knowing he had endured, stayed patient, and found his way back. Without losing who he was. In the end, justice did not come as loud applause or dramatic confrontation, it came in the form of recognition, of balance restored, of a man who was once invisible becoming essential again, and a leader who learned that true strength is not in control, but in the courage to listen.